More than 100 charity and human rights groups are calling for action in Gaza as starvation spreads throughout the enclave. But Israel's government claims Hamas is to blame and denies famine is even taking place in Gaza. Lisa Holland reports from Jerusalem.
Well over 100 aid agencies and human rights organisations putting their name to a heartfelt letter talking about how their own colleagues trying to save people's lives, trying to get people food on the ground, struggling to do their job because they themselves can't access enough food and water. And frankly, there's an ugly war of words going on at the same time as people banging pots and pans, scrambling and jostling inside Gaza to get to watery soup kitchens because the aid stations are judged too dangerous and the people put their lives in their hands to try to get there. What you've got on the one hand is that Israel is saying, look, it's not our fault. Israel, of course, prohibits aid distribution now largely by the United Nations because it's accused the UN of failing to stop aid in the past falling into the hands of the militant group Hamas. You've got another organisation, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, essentially saying it's doing a good job of dishing out aid, but yet, of course, we've seen pictures of shots pinging off the sand of people scurrying outside of these stations because guards, Israeli soldiers, are firing shots to try and prevent the crowds from surging forward. The crowds are surging forward because they're hungry. You've got disputes over the number of people who are dying in this chaos. So the whole thing really is a kind of hot mess without anyone sorting it out. And you've got politicians at the United Nations calling the situation in Gaza a horror story. That was, of course, from the head of the UN yesterday. The bottom line is there doesn't seem to be any kind of resolution or any kind of political solution because at the same time there doesn't seem to be any progress in ceasefire talks. And all the while, people in Gaza who are trying to keep the show on the road and supply aid are talking of the prospect of mass starvation.